Before South Africa had celebrities, it had icons, and Zola 7 shone brighter than most. But deep into his career, Zola was faced with a challenge. The multi-talented icon was signed to the record company Ghetto Rough. However, it was an altercation where he was booked to perform that led him to uncover the label was cheating him out of millions.
She was like, yeah, for somebody I'm paying 60,000, you shouldn't be doing this. I was like, oh, so Zola is worth 60,000. Oh, I didn't know this. And then more confronting company, then the company at Alia Kolos.
These revelations came at a time when he had just decided to cancel his Zola 7 TV show. And despite everything else going on in his life, the urge to walk away from the exploitation was far too strong. But this didn't come without resistance.
If you decide to leave, funky things start happening to you.
Zola pointed the finger of blame to the label executive Lance Stir after what he called a smear campaign damaged his public image as he made headlines for multiple scandals, including domestic violence.
Most of the things that happened in the media actually came through him. He tries to destroy people.
In the process, he lost multi-million rand deals and partnerships, and recently was seen looking frail and ill in a video that surfaced on Facebook. But as wicked and cruel as the music industry might be, it wasn't at complete blame for what happened to Zola 7. In the world of the music industry, record labels are the middlemen that offer you the world in deals that look life-changing. But in reality, most of them just thrive off the creativity and labor of desperate artists while giving back only what's necessary to keep them alive and producing. And this method has killed many careers. But before signing the fine print, Bonginkosi Dlamini, who'd later come to be known as Zola 7, grew up in Soweto's Zola Township, one of the area's most influential neighborhoods and the same place that produced icons like Mendoza and Brown Dash. But for Zola, life here wasn't always glamorous. Due to the apartheid fighting going on in Soweto at the time, he was forced to move between schools in Soweto and KZN.
Zola 2 ngasuke busisi unfortunately bosibekliwa ngama-80s ngavaya KZN.
Growing up between Soweto and KwaZulu-Natal, he saw the full brutality of apartheid and how it bred hopelessness in the community, but somehow he turned that all into art. Soon after high school, he auditioned for Bomb Productions, where he landed the starring role of Papa Action in season 2 of the legendary show Yizo Yizo. The role was gritty and unforgettable. Zola later called it the turning point of his career, an opportunity that allowed him to work on the show's soundtrack with producer KB, who pulled him deeper into his true passion, which was music. But the world didn't know the name Zola 7 yet. That changed in the early 2000s. He signed with Ghetto Rough and released his debut album, Umdlwembe, in 2001. And the album didn't just make noise, it shook the country. Zola spoke openly about township life, crime, hunger, broken dreams, and everything wrong with South Africa's society. Umdlwembe went triple platinum, selling over 80,000 copies and turning Zola into a national superstar. He kept leveling up. In 2004, he released another album, Bambata, which had one of the most unique songs I've ever heard in Don't Cry. The track mixed kwaito and opera and was actually a banger. Around this time, he also dabbled in film, playing a character called Slim in Drum and also heavily contributing to the soundtrack of Oscar-winning Tsotsi. Zola was on top of the world, winning awards left, right and center. But he wasn't just satisfied with fame, he wanted impact, which had led to the creation of his own TV show, Zola 7 on SABC 1, a show where Zola would go around helping young underprivileged South Africans chase their dreams. In fact, the young lady, Tebisile, that featured on Don't Cry actually got that opportunity from being on the show, where Zola took her to his label and pitched her to the executive.
Man, this is MC, home girl of mine. Kill that phone now. She's from Chablan, my neighborhood. This girl here wants to be an opera singer. Oh, brilliant. Yeah. Now, I don't know how to help her, man, but I've thought of an idea. Thought of doing a possible collab with her.
With opera?
Yes.
Are you alright?
I'm perfectly fine.
Are you doing this just because she's your home girl?
No, not because she's my home girl. That's because really I'd like to. I mean, it's an opportunity to do something different.
The relationship Zola and Lance had was really cool, but things wouldn't always be this way, as trouble found its way into his biggest project, the Zola 7 TV show. At first, it was his vision, mission, and direct connection to the people. But over time, Zola said the show became crowded with outside hands. Producers, executives, industry stakeholders all trying to control the direction of something that was supposed to come straight from him. In his words, he described it as too many fingers in his pie. That interference slowly diluted what made the show special. Zola built the show on authenticity, choosing stories himself, meeting people where they were, shaping every moment with intention. But once he felt that control slipping away, he made a choice. Instead of letting the show lose its purpose, Zola pulled the plug. For him, it was better to end it on his terms than watch it become something he no longer believed in. But the problems didn't stop there. If anything, they got worse. During a gig, Zola discovered he and other artists signed under Ghetto Rough were being booked but were never made known of how much the label or promoters were charging. And as a result, their share was heavily underscored.
Omunye mama wangithuka yabona safika late showing. Yabona solo mama lona, she was like, yeah, for somebody I'm paying 60,000, you shouldn't be doing this. And mina ngangime ngaphandle gate. Ngilinde ukuthi ikari izofika izongilanda. Ikari yafika late. Okay, then sahamba ke, I think sasempumalanga. Sawuperform eMpumalanga. Solo mama lona mayiqeda ukusho lento lena. I went and I found her and discovered ukuthi uyi-MEC. I was like, Mama, ngicela repeat lento ishilo kimi. So like, I paid you 60,000. I was like, do you have proof? Paperwork? She was like, I do have proof paperwork. So I went to a hotel room and then she showed me. I was like, oh, so Zola is worth 60,000.
At the time.
That was like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I didn't know this.
This led to Zola publicly claiming his label owed him millions, and in 2009, he announced he was suing them. From there, things just kept going downhill. Zola claimed after leaving the label, Lance paid journalists to trash him, suggesting the motive was to discredit him publicly so that even if he tried to continue in music or other ventures, damage to his image would limit his leverage.
But that boy called Nwako Malachi, and that girl called Nombuso Zondi, and that girl called Cassandra Goodloser, they had a personal vendetta against me. And they used the resources of the companies that they were working for to try and attack my career. I even ended up in court at some point with this boy, or Nwako Malachi, who, by the way, turned out to be working no Lance with one of my baby mamas.
Even his baby mother was said to be working with Lance in the smear campaign. However, there's always two sides to a story, and Lance's version of events was completely different, adding some details Zola left out in his. For one, he said he and Zola's relationship took a massive hit after the label's booking agent, who Zola was allegedly having an affair with, was caught running a parallel company, which led to the label laying charges against her. Zola wouldn't take this well.
What was happening, she was running a parallel company next to our company that we didn't know about. And then when we uncovered that and found out, oh, fuck, look what's happening over here, we had to lay charges against her. And then Zola was like, he was on a shoot in PE, and he phoned and he said, if you don't drop those charges against the person in question, I'm leaving. And I was like, phew, okay, cool. I said, we're not dropping the charges, right?
This apparently tainted their relationship, and according to Lance, after Zola decided to leave the label, all the dirt he was doing behind the scenes that the label was working overtime to keep from being published was then being freely released by the media. Basically, he lost the benefits of being protected, and in turn, lost a multi-million rand deal with Cell C.
There was so much protection happening beforehand.
Ah,
right?
So you stopped, okay.
Everything, all the fucking eggs were being caught before they fucking broke.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I
so there was a whole
see.
team of people, boom, catching their... You didn't have to do a smear campaign against Zola, right? I mean, the reason why he lost the Cell C deal was he beat up his girlfriend.
Jeez, oh yeah.
And pushed her through a window. Then he said that I planted the girlfriend. I don't know who the fucking girlfriend is.
All these conflicts pushed Zola into a kind of retreat, and slowly he slipped out of the spotlight. But as of recent, Zola's name re-emerged on the spotlight for reasons other than music, as his health had also become a serious concern. In January 2021, he was involved in a car accident in Meadowlands, Soweto, where he crashed his vehicle into a spaza shop. The internet immediately jumped to conclusions, with rumors flying about reckless behavior. But when Zola himself spoke out, the truth was far more heartbreaking. He had suffered an epileptic seizure while driving, and in 2023, he revealed he had been in a coma. At one point, reports described him as penniless and frail. This was bizarre because when he walked away from the spotlight, he was set.
By the time we parted, he had a production company, he had 5 houses.
Yo!
He
Whoa.
had, he was set up. He had the Cell C deal, which was crazy.
Millions.
Zola was indeed set for life. He even had a popping clothing line with Edgar's, but in the end, it didn't last. For many supporters, it was difficult to reconcile the legendary figure of Zola 7 with the vulnerable man now suffering behind the scenes. However, what jumped out to me is that Lawrence was in communication with Zola's kids despite their feud.
When last did you speak to him?
I speak to his kids. They phone. They need help. They need help of various things. He needs to sort his house out.
I connected this to the time where, during a pod, he was asked if he was still in communication with Lawrence, to which he answered saying Lawrence was in communication with people trying to communicate with him.
You haven't seen him, spoken to him?
No, but he's been speaking to people who are trying to speak to me.
I hope I'm not taking this out of context, and if I am, I apologize. But despite all their past scuffles, in 2024, Zola and Lawrence publicly reconciled. The two buried their past and agreed to collaborate again. As of recent, Zola has dropped a new single, Imbobe, where he looks much more healthier. He even flexed his awards for us. Though, it's unlikely he'll ever fully return to his past glory. But Zola's story is one that forces us to acknowledge the darker sides of fame and riches.